All right, House of Payne fans, I loved the episode. You heard me? Season 9, episode 24. Ella discovers that Malik and Lisa have deeper rooted issues. Malik imitates the way that Curtis treats Ella. Ella puts her foot down with Curtis. Now, I'd say, you know what? I think I would probably still say that 23 was better than 24 because CJ was just laying down hard facts about marriage, compromise, and parenting. But episode 24 was a solid episode in itself. I dare say this was the first episode where Miranda did not work my nerves, but let's get into that when we cross that bridge. So before going forward in the review, if you can please do me a couple favors, hit the thumbs up button to show you like the video, hit subscribe, click the bell notification icon and select all. That way you don't miss out whenever I post content to the channel, and follow me on my social media platforms. Links are in the description below. 9 out of 10. There are only a couple of little things I'm not going to say hurt the episode, but it would have helped if we would have seen a couple of things. But overall, I think this was a solid episode from start to finish. So let me set up my notebook here so I can see everything. And the episode starts off with Lisa and Malik fighting. CJ's not trying to butt in. Apparently, the whole fiasco is over the fact that Malik left the toilet seat up, and she's mad about it. And Malik tries to be reasonable. Well, babe, why don't you just look down whenever you use the restroom? I mean, that's what I do, hence why I know that the toilet seat is down when I need to just put it up. And then she retorts that, well, it doesn't matter because you always miss. I ain't going to lie. That was a funny comeback. So Miranda just walks in without knocking, but whatever. And she brought over some of Christian's old baby clothes to look through with Lisa, and Lisa is obviously still pissed. Lisa is, again, just pissed off, and CJ tells Malik to go outside to help him with something. One of those little things where I wish we could have taken a moment, maybe not even like 3 minutes, just to have CJ talking with Malik about the whole situation about angry pregnant women. But maybe it's because CJ had such a lot of great advice for Malik in the last episode. That's why this episode seemed to be more of a woman focused episode. But in the same way, it wasn't bad. Because earlier, I think Lisa pointed out that even CJ doesn't leave the seat up. And look how they trained him. Is like, yep, I was trained because, again, he's a father, soon to be grandfather, so he knows the deal. Not to mention, before Malik and Lisa moved in, and assuming Jasmine lives on campus, most of the people, technically Hayden and Jaden is a boy and girl, and then you got Janine and CJ. So basically it's half and half. But either way, CJ knows to leave the seat down. I don't consciously think about it, but I leave the seat down myself, but that's just, because I'm the only one that uses my restroom. So yeah, I think I was mentally trained to do that when I was living at home. Damn. See, you just learn. But in any case, let's see. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So Lisa's talking to Miranda, like, ooh, sometimes I just want to kill him. It's like, you don't mean that, do you? And then she rolls her eyes. Then Ella comes in, hooty hoo. I mean, at least she knows to announce herself. But the only reason she didn't walk in is because she has a crock pot, I believe. And, she gives Lisa advice about talking to Malik and not arguing back and forth over nothing, because the whole toilet seat really isn't the root of their issues. It's the fact that they need to take time, understand each other, get to know each other, because yeah, you should have done all that before you even got, sexually involved, and then you moved into this house with, all these people. So you need to give him some leeway. And then Lisa's like, yeah, they fight all the time, but not to play favorites here, but it just seems to me that Lisa's the one who has a difficult time communicating, because she just assumes that Malik should know all these things about her when they don't know each other at all. So yeah, all right. So while they're doing that, she points out about the whole Curtis thing. It's like, well, I don't know, just looking at the way Mr. Curtis treats you. But Ella's like, no, he loves her. He's a good man. And then we actually have a decent moment here, because I think Malik and CJ briefly come in the moment that Miranda's like, can we just stop talking about Calvin? And then they're like, oh yeah, I wish we would. And then they both leave. And believe it or not, this was actually the first well-written Miranda whining about Calvin moment, because her going through those baby clothes, and then the fact that I believe that this was the first outfit that Calvin picked out when I was pregnant, that actually makes sense as opposed to her making everything about her. So I actually like the way that they wrote in Miranda talking about Calvin in this episode. All right, so then we got Malik going over to Curtis, who's trying to just, sunbathe, get a tan or whatever, which is ridiculous in itself, but it was just the right amount of Curtis this episode. And Malik is like, I need some Lisa advice. And basically, Curtis is speaking for the audience, like, you, Lisa, Miranda, Calvin, I'm done with all this stuff. Leave me alone, I'm retired. And basically, he just needs some advice. And, Malik points out, like, just based off the way you and Auntie Ella interact, it's like, what do you mean? How do you show you love her and everything? It's like, look, and we have a genuine OG Curtis moment. I respect your aunt. I would die for her. Look, I make her laugh. I love her. The thing is, we know each other. It's the fact that you see how we interact is one way, but we both know what we're both thinking. Like, she knows I'm just playing with her. But again, we know each other. So basically his advice is treat Lisa the way that Curtis treats Ella. Oh boy. So once again, we switch over to CJ's house, and Ella is giving some solid advice on Miranda about how you need to move on without Calvin. But I want him. I don't want to move on without him. But it's like, you have to understand that Calvin needs to want that too. Even though I fully agree with Ella, she should have said this a long time ago. But once again, these episodes seem to be aired extremely out of order. But it's like, if you go back to any of the previous Ella and Miranda scenes, she just keeps saying the same thing about, you're both adults, sit down, talk with him. But I don't think she's ever once said, hey, if you want to move with Calvin, I get that, but you have to understand that Calvin needs to want that too. Because it just seems like Ella and Miranda had the same conversation at least 10 times by this point, but she's never once stated, well, if Calvin doesn't want to continue life with you outside of you both co-parenting, then you need to move on. Why has that never been stated? Again, yet another reason this episode does not get a 10 out of 10. So, Ella gets ready to leave, and believe it or not, Lisa thanks her. And basically, when Malik gets over there, she'll tell him how much she loves him. And then, as soon as Malik comes back, Ella's like, you'll thank me later. And then Malik literally goes into full Curtis mode, telling Lisa to make him dinner, basically telling Miranda to get out. Lisa's like, why are you being so rude to Miranda? I'm like, wow, I can't believe it, but I'm actually agreeing with her. So Ella comes back in because she forgot her keys, just like Calvin did when Jasmine was waiting for the package. Okay. But Malik tells her to get out too, and then Ella she quickly figures out that it was Curtis's influence, so she goes to talk with him. Malik apologizes to Lisa because before that Miranda's like, yeah, I'm gonna go, because she already smelled that it's gonna be dramatic. But basically Lisa's like, fine, that's okay, but you better not talk to me like that no more. And they sit down and cuddle again. This was actually a good scene. So we ended off with, even though this was a good Curtis and Ella scene, it feels like it's going to be redundant, because remember, we only got one episode left. So whenever season 10 pops up and we get back to Curtis and Ella and he's acting the same way as always, it just makes scenes like this redundant. So basically, Ella tells Curtis, like, you told Malik to treat Lisa the same way you treat me. Yeah, I did. Well, I treat you like a queen. I got you this castle and everything. Well, basically, Ella's pointing out the fact that while we know each other, how we interact is one thing, but what other people see is nothing but disrespect. So what you're going to do is stop ordering me around. That's basically it. Stop giving me orders and commands. And then that's literally the end of the episode. That's honestly all there is to it. But I thoroughly enjoyed the episode. This truly felt like a House of Payne episode from the old days, just like episode 8 from Heart to Heart. So I think that if we got more episodes like this, season 9 would have been revered as a great return to form, as opposed to a redundant, repetitive, lack of continuity mess. So we had a great blending of characters. This was the first episode I didn't mind Lisa. True, I was annoyed at her during the first half, but the fact that she was willingly able to take advice. Miranda wasn't constantly butting in where her, she wasn't sticking her nose in a conversation. I mean, she'd give us, a quick "that's right" or but it was justified, as opposed to just assuming the worst about someone. Like, I literally felt bad when Malik was just talking to her like Curtis would, but at the same, especially because she wasn't over there about Calvin. She was over there to, hand over some baby clothes to look over for their upcoming child. So it really was a good episode that made me look at characters like Lisa and Miranda in a positive light, as opposed to being annoyed by their mere presence. So yeah, and I like the fact that, yeah, Malik was wrong for what he was doing, but it makes sense because he honestly was trying to figure out a way to make things work with Lisa. So it's funny because when you think about it, Malik was the one who was willingly searching for someone to give him advice. CJ wasn't going to butt in to the... Well, it wasn't that CJ wasn't going to give advice. It's just CJ wasn't going to butt into their fight because Lisa and Malik had to sort out their own issues. So I respect that. But, he went to Uncle Curtis to get some advice, and he did. Now, it doesn't mean it was the great advice, but remember, Malik was being proactive, and Lisa was just being reactive. Like Ella and a little bit of Miranda, they gave her advice that she wasn't even seeking. But thankfully, she willingly accepted it, and she wanted to do better. But once again, just remember that Malik was actually trying to seek out some assistance, because just based off how Lisa is, going off at Malik about the whole toilet seat, I really do feel like, and I hate to say this, but I think 100% of the time, these arguments are sparked by Lisa, unless you count like last week with the whole dinner thing. Malik expecting her to fix dinner because Ella does it for Curtis, and, Janine does it for CJ. It's just one of those things where I really felt the realism, or the realistic aspects of, you can't turn a stripper into a housewife, and the importance of getting to know someone before you actually get intimate with them, because you just never know who they are as a person. So there you go. I can go on and on, but there's really no need to. I thought this was a solid episode. So like I said, 9 out of 10. And check out my preview for the season finale, because I truly feel like that season finale probably isn't what was meant to be the season finale, just based on a couple of things from the trailer itself. But like I said, I will save that for the actual trailer breakdown, and you can catch that in another video on the channel. So if you'd like to donate, feel free to do so on PayPal, Cash App, or join Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon.